Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Living Tasawwuf. Today we start a new series which is entitled The Secrets of Salat. It is a commentary on 150-60 pages on the chapter on Salat by Ibn al-Arabi. It's part of the Fusus al-Hikam. And our plan is to cover this book in approximately 8 weeks. So this will be the first episode, and we will continue with highlighting some of the most important issues that Ibn al-Arabi brings about. Even to have a full reading of the text will take us much longer. It will take us a year to cover Ibn al-Arabi properly. But I think by limiting our scope, we don't necessarily abandon the task of understanding the fundamentals, at least, of what Ibn al-Arabi speaks about, the secrets of Salat. It is important to understand who the man is. The author is not an ordinary author, he is Ibn al-Arabi, Shaykh al-Akbar. He is one of the greatest of all the Sufis, Andalusian, from Murcia. He brought Tasawwuf to high realms of knowledge, and he spoke about it. Many people didn't, and there is a good reason why some people haven't spoken about certain things. The reason is that you only speak Tasawwuf about the people who can understand and in accordance to what they understand, and this is logical. Imagine to anyone who holds high knowledge in almost any profession, you understand that you display and you pass on the knowledge in accordance to the people's understanding. In the case of Tasawwuf, this takes us to very high realms represented by Maqams. And the Maqams are not just different perspectives, they are different ways of receiving the meaning of things. It alters the meaning of things. As you evolve in the path, the things appear differently. And that means a different language is required in order to explain what you see in different Maqams. In a way, the things get simplified. In another way, things that we are perceived today in our basic level, in the initial level, in the Suluk, they change when you incorporate jazb. Essentially, the Sufis have spoken about 3 levels, even though 3 is not exactly the number. But Suluk is the path in which you start and you advance into the path on the basis of what is the default condition of mankind. So we have a strong attachment to the outward, and we often get misled by our positioning in the world as observers. It is likely in the beginning that the world appears as you see it. The journey consists on abandoning that position that is misleading and move into the world of Hakika. That means the world is not what we see, is what Allah intends, what Allah sees. He is the source of meaning. We are not. And Suluk, therefore, takes into that particular mode of understanding. We are continuously disattaching ourselves from a condition, as I said, by default, in which the sensory dominates over the meaning. The journey of tasawwuf is precisely to bring meaning, to balance the sensory with the meaning, eventually to let the meaning dominate. For indeed, the meaning is what gives sense, gives understanding to the sensory. The sensory in itself is misleading. So that is the world of Suluk. To speak about the Sufi is our journey, our Suluk. It's often spoken as the discipline. It's a path in the sense that it takes you deeper and deeper into things. And the nature of this journey is so significant that throughout the journey, as you progress from one Maqam to the next, you arrive to situations whereby you say to yourself, "Oh Allah, forgive me, because from where I am now, I realize I did not know how to worship you earlier. So let me do Shahada again and start." As if you arrive to a position, and this is what a Maqam is, where you realize, my goodness, I wasn't sincere enough. I was not understanding what my position is. And that changing of where you place yourself in knowledge, in other words, how you understand yourself as a slave of Allah, it alters entirely the meaning of things. Entirely. As in nothing in common to what you had earlier. There is nothing in human reasoning that it will take you there. Human reasoning is the accumulation of data, information. This is the alteration of all data, of all information, and set it up in a completely different level of order, a different order of priorities. Allah dominates, and you retrieve or go back to the background. With this, I'm trying to tell you that changes in Maqam have exponential effect in the understanding we have of the world. That includes us, and that includes something like Salat. Changing the world of Salat, the way in which you relate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is altered, not because you learn more things in terms of the position of the arms and the timings and anything related to the physicality of Salat, but because you change in the act of Salat. Imagine then that a movement uplifting your Maqam, making a change like quantum leaps in your Maqam, alters entirely the meaning of Salat. And this is not just two Maqams. This happens to you several times in the journey. So while in Maqam 1, and I'm just giving numbers, they don't represent anything in particular, just as a reference. If in Maqam 1, everything you have done in Maqam 0 appears to you as being deprived of meaning, almost sinful, hypocritical, it appears to you like, how could I live without lack of understanding? And it appears to you, from a different perspective, from a different level of sincerity, that what you had before, it was disgraceful. Imagine. Since this is not a knowledge that it can be acquired by means of reason, what other means do we have to acquire this type of knowledge? And this is where the knowledge of the heart comes in. This is where akal comes in. A different type of knowledge. It's not reason. It's the knowledge, the transformation that takes place as you improve in Maqam. Radical, intense, profound, life-changing, exponential in terms of effect that it has. And the small change inwardly, it has a huge impact outwardly. As if when you acquire knowledge outwardly, you can't one-to-one. But when you acquire knowledge inwardly, it's an exponential, it's geometrical. The things double, triple. And then you understand that if the result of advancing one Maqam gives you such an impression on what is the condition of when you were in Maqam 0, imagine what happens when you move to Maqam 2. Exactly the same thing. So you will say to yourself, "Oh Allah, forgive me. How could I live in such a level of ignorance? Now I know that I did not worship the way you deserve. Now I will worship you better." So there is a knowledge of a different kind that is acquired by means of akal. There is a different type of knowledge that is acquired by means of advancing Maqam to Maqam. It's not linear. When the Sufis have spoken on the matter, it's more like quantum leaps, stairs. So imagine that Maqam is some station. So you have acquired a knowledge. And then there is a jump upwards, which is the hal. A hal is a state. In that particular moment, you have a moment of clarity, of vision, of sincerity, powerful, strong, that changes you. I always remember a dear friend of ours, Abd al-Haq, and one day he was in his native city where he lived, in San Sebastian, in the Basque Country. And one evening he called me and he said, "Sheikh, what happened to me was extraordinary. What happened?" And he said, "I was walking by the beach, La Concha, and suddenly I was just contemplating, with nothing in particular in my mind, just contemplating the greatness of Allah, of the majesty of the sea and coming into the shores, and how the water was coming and going in a beautiful summer day." And suddenly, Abd al-Haq was telling me, I had a huge opening, a brutal opening, what Ibn Arabi will call a fath, Futuhat, an opening while I was working, and I had an immense certainty, an immense clarity invaded me of the presence of Allah in me, in my life, in the meaning of my life, in everything. I felt held by this sudden, unexpected burst of light from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. with a clarity that it made me shake as I was walking. I had to stop just to hold it. And my heart was filled with joy, happiness, sakina, peace. And a clarity invaded me of the certainty of my position before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he went on and on and on. I was just listening to him, amazed, happy, because when something like this happens to you, there is an immense benefit. It's something that it breaks through barriers, as if we are holding on, covering ourselves, and suddenly the barriers broke, and Allah simply opens you up like you open a papaya. It's just kind of burst open, and then you can see and contemplate the glory of Allah descending upon you. So we may call this is the Fatah of San Sebastian, of Abdelhak Salaverria. This is what happened to Ibn al-Arabi during his staying in Mecca. The openings of Ibn al-Arabi in Mecca. That's why the best word to me, or the best translation of the Futuhat, is openings. Because it's revelation is something else. There is an element of disclosure or lifting up that comes upon you, and clearly the source is Allah. And that opening, it changes you. It changes you radically. And it lasts one moment. It lasts and goes. The days that follow, Abdelhak Salaverria called me. And he said, Sheikh, I've been trying to go back to the same place, walking through the same stairs, but I cannot go back to the same state. He thought that by walking in the same area and doing at the same hour, he might be able to obtain something that it was so beautiful to him that he wanted more. And that's the very nature of hal. Hal is something that it comes and goes. But if under certain conditions you learn how to recreate, prepare yourself to that event, you might receive it again. The science of this is what Ibn al-Arabi called to be receptive. It's not by repeating the conditions and the physical place where you were. It's not even to expect the benefit. As if you cannot obtain the state if your focus is on the state. Your focus must be on Allah. That's why the people do dhikr wanting fanafila, they don't get fanafila. You have to want Allah, not the state. There are veils outwardly, and there are veils inwardly. The veils outwardly is anything other than Allah. So if you see something that, and you don't see the face of Allah in it, is a veil. The journey will be precisely to wherever you look, the face of Allah. That will be the removal of the veils. And there are veils inwardly. What are the veils inwardly? Exactly the same definition. Anything other than Allah. So what are typical veils of the inward? For example, to desire an estate. The person who desires fanafila, he will not get it. You have to desire Allah and Allah only. Anything other than Allah is a veil. Even the peacefulness and the joy that you obtain in the Maqam, you have to leave it behind, you have to drop it in order to desire Allah and only Allah. In the purity of that, things started to happen. Veils. In order to remove the veils, you have to prepare yourself. The receptiveness is what Ibn al-Arabi speaks about, in order to attain this condition on the basis of which you receive the light of Allah, as if, and Ibn al-Arabi is very clear on the matter, Allah is showering you continuously with His light. Continuously. It is us that we cover ourselves. It's not that Allah is switching on and off His light. His light is continuous, supreme, majestic, as intense in the beginning as it will be in the end. He hasn't improved. He is complete and absolute always. So it is us that change. And if we understand how we change, then we can understand how we can receive the shower of light of Allah. Imagine how different that is from the people say, oh Allah, give me your light. The light of Allah is everywhere. What you should ask, oh Allah, remove my veils so I can perceive your light. And the gift of Allah is precisely in that relation. It's a relationship in which He helps you to change yourself. Changing you is the same thing as receive the blessings and receive the wisdom and receive the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's a hal. When a hal, under the conditions of knowing how to obtain it, are performed, then you start repeating the hal, the hal, the hal. You start, instead of happening once in a blue moon, you can create the conditions where it happens more regularly. If it happens more regularly, at some point, you can own it. What does it mean? It means that that thing that has happened to you, that level of certainty that has invaded you, you say, mine. I will not move away from here. And you hold it. And it doesn't go away. And then you have transformed what is an state into an station. The hal, the Maqam, is nothing but a hal that is held on. You own it. It's yours now. And then, so that becomes a plateau. So, if you think about the hal as a vertical jump, the hal, the Maqam, is horizontal. It's the holding on of that thing that you have attained. You're holding on to it, and to be able to transform your life completely on the basis of that thing that you have acquired. A complete transformation. So everybody has hals. Even the kuffar have hals. It's more difficult to transform this thing into a Maqam. But the hals are an indicator of the things to come. It shows you what amazing it is, that world. All you have to do is to recall that Maqam that you still remember, because it's impossible to forget. And you say, wow, that was the most amazing moment of my life. Could I return to it? And the answer is yes. And if you want to understand what tasawwuf is precisely the journey that it will take you to attain that thing that you have tasted briefly. How to go back there and to be permanently there. And the hal makes you increase your desire. It makes you a hunter. It says, I want this. It says, that's extraordinary. I cannot live without it. This is by far more important to me than anything I have. And with that kind of madness, then that desire, you advance. And when you attain this thing and you own it and you cannot, it doesn't go, then a Maqam has been achieved. It doesn't mean you have arrived, but you have learned how to walk the path. That's why for many people, that first opening, that fath, that opening, is by far the most important. Just like for a toddler, the most important step is the first step. And when the mother finds out the little boy or little girl has made the first step, he will inform all the family. And so, you know, the little girl has made the first step. And everybody rejoices in happiness because they know once you have made that breakthrough, the first step, the second is inevitable. You are in the path. That's why you need to taste it, because the tasting of it is what drives you forward. The testimony of people around you, it helps a lot, because to be in the company of people who have walked the path is like, you think, wow, I want that too, and how did you do it, and tell me more. And that conversation and that gathering of the people that they speak about the matter is what stimulates your own desire. And one of the proofs of your desire is you want to keep the company of the people who have this. If you don't care, it's a sign that you don't care. Like Shaykh Umar used to say, if you want to become a carpenter, keep the company of the carpenters. And if you want to become a fisherman, keep the company of the fisherman. But if you want to become a fisherman, don't keep the company of the carpenters. And so if you want this knowledge, keep the company of the people who remind you of this. Well, among the people who will remind you, it will be Ibn al-Arabi and his own fath, his openings in 4,000 pages. If what I just told you about Abdahak al-Barriya, it reminds you of something that happened to you, imagine if we have to account for the openings of somebody like Ibn al-Arabi. Because remember, the things progress upwardly. When you attain Maqam 1, all the halls are absorbed and owned into a position that you call Maqam. How do you advance? Do the halls stop? No, they continue. But instead of starting from position 0, they start from position 1. And in that position, if, as you have now understood, improve your receptiveness, the halls will come. At first, openings, flashes, visions, certainty, peace, clarity, certainty, all together. With a commitment to say, I belong to you, often with tears in your eyes, overwhelming. But now they're of a different degree, because now you're in Maqam 1, not in Maqam 0. The things below your Maqam, they look absurd. A world that you have distanced yourself from, and you say, dear God, how could these people live there? Honestly, that's exactly the feeling. Is that how on earth anybody can live in Maqam 0? How can they live in such a torturous, dark environment? But now that makes you aware that, hang on a minute, I haven't arrived. There is still more. And that's where the house comes in, and in these openings, then you realize, my goodness, there is more. And with everything that you have learned, just like a toddler has to learn how to make the first step, then in a manner that is not, it doesn't matter what the Shaykh tells you. Let me tell you this. Desire, he said, the condition is desire. You have to put all the intensity. My Shaykh used to say to me, do it with all your heart. Pray with all your heart, for example. Because the prayer in this is fundamental. And I will put my heart in the only way I understood, to put my heart on something else. Absolute devotion, I will not give up. I will put all my heart in my, as a young man, my idea of putting all my heart is remembering my football coach. Tell me, when you go out there, go there with everything that you had. Run faster, jump faster, give it all. So that's how I understood it. I put everything there. As I'm going to worship you with everything I have until I die. And I understood this is desire. And so I did. I prepared myself to receive you. And once you have obtained that first opening, and you hold onto it, which is the most extraordinary idea that it can possibly happen to you, that you can hold onto it, is incredible. Then new challenges happen. It doesn't mean that you have arrived to paradise. Then you have a complete different concern about the world. And things that you have never seen as problematic, now they suddenly appear as problematic. So don't think it's just, and you arrive there and now you have a permanent smile in your face and you can contemplate the states and everything is wonderful and joyous. No, you become aware of things that you were not aware before. You understand responsibility in a manner that you never could possibly understand when you're in Maqam 0. 0, you don't understand there. Basically in Maqam 0, you're like a zombie. al-Arabi describes it exactly this way. They move their arms and limbs, but they're dead. If the heart is dead, they're dead. So now you know how to move a little bit your arms and fingers. You are slightly aware of the state of your heart, and things precipitate. Things become aware of your responsibilities, what you are capable of doing. You stop relying on the absolute, disgusting, awful, tiny, little, rotten zone that you call the comfort zone. That is awful, is blown away. That's a zone that you don't want to even look at. For you start finding that life starts on the boundaries of things. In pushing yourself forward into believing, coming closer, trust Allah, obey Allah, crossing boundary after boundary. That's the only way in which you can experience life. And that pushing yourself forward changes the meaning of desire. For many people in Maqam 0, desire is like, I have feelings about God. Once in a blue moon, I remember. Especially when everything goes wrong. Their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like they are in a hotel and they're running out of towels and they call the self-service, I need towels. And then they forget once they have the towels. No. That's not the relationship that you start acquiring. You realize you need Allah to breathe air. You need Allah totally. But you do it gradually. You find out, you realize, you explore, you enjoy, you fear Allah gradually as you go along. And it takes you then to a level of awareness completely different and a level of problems that you say, but other people don't have it. So you speak with a Maqam 0, for example, about something trivial. Either, but you know the problem, riba, how can you live with that? And they say, I don't have that problem. Either how? Either I don't think about it. This is the kind of darkness in which these people live. They just don't think about it. Imagine how stupid can you be? How ignorant can you be? But this is the state of these people. They just go around and say, I don't think about it. So I can just carry on knowing that Allah has declared war on me. Of course, the prayer doesn't mean anything. Of course, the things become difficult. In Maqam 0, everything is flowing, but downwards. It's just ups and downs and this and the other. They have moments of clarity and darkness and this. They suffer anxiety, depression, stress. These are the signs of the people of Maqam 0. People who suffer from this, they don't realize that this is incompatible with Maqam 1. Not 2 and 3. That's more things that come forward. With even 1, all that is incompatible. They don't realize. They suffer, they endure it. They think it's just, well, life is like this. Ignorance upon ignorance, no? Like light upon light. This is darkness upon darkness. Then they gather to one another, another one equally Maqam 0, and they tell each other and they give each other advice. Imagine. It's like a blind person telling to another blind person, either where do we go? Maqam is that important. You enter into a different status, so you become a different person. This is Fath. This is openings. And they are radical enough in order to, as I said, you feel like doing Shahada again and say, forgive me. I did not know what I was doing before. Let me repeat again. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. Because indeed, from the depth of the sincerity of your being, you say, that was not what was intended. Let me just start again. And then the things start tasting completely different. Of course they do. But completely different, I say completely different. It's like your level of consciousness has changed. Change is completely. Like the same things that they were blue, now they are different color. It changes everything. Not just a little thing, everything. There are certain problems in Maqam 1 that they are absolutely impossible to be detected or felt or suffered in Maqam 1. What Shaykh Umar used to call flying above the weather. You fly above the weather. So things of the previous Maqam disappear. Disappear. Completely disappear. It says, I cannot be affected by that stupid kind of nonsense people in Maqam 0 are affected with. It doesn't mean you don't have problems. Oh dear God, no. You have much bigger problems. That they become to the state, to the station, to the Maqam that you belong to now. And they are much bigger, much worse, except now you have resources that you didn't have earlier. Because what are the solutions to the people who are in Maqam 1? The resources that they belong to Maqam 2. If you want to overcome this type of problems, you have to keep moving. Moving up. Moving upwards. And you can see that those openings, they completely transform the meaning of things radically. Just to show the radicality of this, it's not only the magnitude of things that you are concerned with. Like, for example, you say the things that these people in Maqam 0 get worried about, dear God, it only shows the level of ignorance and need of dunya that they have. They have attached themselves to their own fantasies. It's absolutely, completely amazing how people can suffer for something they create in their own heads. But that's the case. But as al-Akbar used to tell us, either when you advance in the Maqam, not only you eliminate the problems of which you are aware, the Shaykh used to tell us, it will eliminate problems, issues that you don't even know you had. That's amazing. It will eliminate things that you don't even know how to name. Amazing. For indeed, most of the problems of which we suffer, the darkness, part of the darkness of this age, we don't even know how to name it. Many people, for example, suffer from living inside a situation. If you don't, for example, let's say you don't understand the word riba, okay, like most Kafirs don't, and most Muslims don't actually. You will be suffering from it, you don't even know how to name it. How can you create solutions or economics if you don't understand the word riba? You will be surprised how many Muslims don't even know how to define it. They may even say riba is forbidden. You ask them, what is riba? They don't know. But it doesn't mean they rush 5 minutes later to say, I have to find out about this because it's agonizing. No, they've been there for years and they still don't know. And they say superficially, because if you then tell them, what do you have to do in order to eliminate it? The whole thing becomes vague. And then you realize they will probably respond with a little smile, with a sarcastic smile, and say, ha, you got me, without realizing that what they are confessing is the complete lack of sincerity. But it's typical of the Maqams. It doesn't matter which Maqam you find yourself in. There is always a deficient in relation to the next Maqam, etc., etc. So now you understand that when we speak about Futuhat, we're speaking about something in the nature of this. This is another type of, like another chapter. Ibn al-Arabi is going to tell the things that we are not being told in the book 1 and 2. No, my dear. This is immensely different. To read Ibn al-Arabi in the Futuhat al-Makkiyah about the prayer is telling you what is the prayer for the people who have a Maqam much more elevated than any one of us. It's not information. If you remember what Ibn al-Arabi says is the same thing as scratching your head or your nose. What's really important about reading Ibn al-Arabi, and the only way in which you can obtain any value in the matter, is that you have to ask yourself, what kind of man is this who can see these things? How can he speak about this matter in this particular manner? What does he mean? What he is expressing here? And I am telling you that the book we are about to read, it will speak about Salat in a manner that is not in the books that you have taken, that you have learned from. You have to do 5 Salats a day, this is the timing, this is the hour, this is how you do this is how you recite that, etc., etc. All the mechanics. This is something else. It's not just the things he says, it's how he says. And how he leaves other things out, and how he focuses on this using particular expressions. Some of these expressions, they are unique to him. So it's like Sufism has its own language, and it uses a terminology, Sheikh Umar used to call a technical terminology, meaning just like in mathematics you use a technical terminology, in engineering you use terminology. If you are a film director, you have a technical terminology that most of the people don't understand. But you need that terminology, because you are describing something that for most people are not aware of. And Ibn al-Arabi will speak about these things in relation to Maqams. And to read Ibn al-Arabi linearly, as if from Maqam 0, is like, okay, fine. You can read as much as you want. We have to read it differently. We have to read what Ibn al-Arabi says. A desire to obtain his openings. So in the Futuhat al-Makkiyah, what I say to myself is that I want his openings. I want what at the Haq Salabaria had that day while he was working in the beach of San Sebastian, and hold onto it. I want his state. Like when I met my own Sheikh, I said to myself, I hardly understand what he's saying when I started. But I want to have the conviction he has. I want to speak the word of Allah. I want to say the name of Allah the same way he does. I want to have the same conviction he has. I want to pray the way he does. And you will see that what the Sheikh is going to tell us about the prayer involves precisely guidance for the person who wants to act. If you want to entertain or find information, it will not help you. It will just data. Add to your collection of data. But what is special about Ibn al-Arabi, and that's why we have chosen this book of Salat, is that he sent us an indication of from where he is looking in order to say this, and what it is that we have to walk in order to see the way he sees. That's the journey. Hopefully, we will succeed, at least partially, because anything that you gain in this direction is knowledge. This is powerful, this is strong. And having chosen the Salat, well, it's because it plays a fundamental role in everything that we are describing. It's the one thing that helps you in obtaining an uplifting in your Maqam. So, by means of improving the prayer, you increase your Maqam. And by means of increasing your Maqam, you change the way you look at the prayer. Logical. But the prayer is so important that everything that we understand as dhikr, which is to remember Allah, is founded upon everything we know about Salah. So the Salah is not just one step, one achievement, is the achievement, is the mother of achievements, is the key thing that you want to put right, because it triggers other improvements. And the centrality of the Salat is therefore one of the pillars of the understanding of Tasawwuf. As we understand Tasawwuf originating from Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. There are people today that they call dhikr, is they're coming together and singing together, and they think that's dhikr. Let's do a dhikr. They come together and say, like, let's have a couscous and with some dhikr, without ever realizing that this is life itself. If you ask Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam or the Sahaba, you said, where do we go to sing some songs? They will look at you like you're crazy. They say, dhikr? You mean salah? Exactly. Salah. Salah is dhikr. And there is no higher dhikr than the salat. If there was something higher than that, then Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would have listed a list of songs to sing. Is that the prayer? And if you want to renew Islam, you have to go to the Amal of the Ahl al-Medina. And if you want to renew Tasawwuf, you have to return to the first community, to Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as the greatest of all the Sufis. And his murids, his Sahaba. In that simplicity, you find what's missing today and why the things have deteriorated the way they have done. As I have wrote in Esoteric Deviation, is that not only the Sharia has gone to pieces, also Tasawwuf. And that's why they read Ibn al-Arabi, they don't understand the words. But our attempt is try to make sense of Ibn al-Arabi And it is impossible for us to read this book without realizing that we're speaking about Ibn al-Arabi. The author already is the first indicator that this is a book different than the others. That is a book about Maqams, about knowledge of Allah. So you cannot read it in the same way. You have to put something in the reading that it changes you. So that now you can understand what he says and why he says, from where he says what he says. And as I said, this is Suluk, Maqam, Suluk, until you arrive to Fanafila. And then Fanafila opens the door to Jadb, attraction. The thing changes completely. Like everything you have learned in that early part of the journey, the opposite turns around. Yes. And then you have Jadb. And then you cannot hold onto that state. If you hold, it's a deception, it's a deceptive. It has merit, but it's not perfection. Until you then continue and then you unify Suluk and Jadb. Suluk and Jadb together. Now it sounds impossible. It's possible. And that's the state of perfection. And then you turn everything that you have understood in Jadb to the opposite again. So it becomes the opposite of the opposite of the opposite. It goes back to normal. And this is how the meaning of this changes. Things change. The meaning of things is fluid. And this is nothing to do with information or the sensory ability to store information, because that depends entirely on your state. If your state changes, all that changes. So this fluidity of knowledge is the very notion of knowledge of Allah. Everything changes, but particularly everything that you acquire at the level of sensory, all that will change. You have to abandon it in order to go into the meaning. And then once you acquire, what you have eliminated the sensory completely, then you have to abandon everything. Your identity. I know this sounds impossible to understand, but then you recover it again. Slowly, but you recover it again. And the recovering of this is Baka. And there is another mystery there. This is for me to tell you that the thing is infinitely more complex than anything that we can possibly cover. But we don't want to read Ibn al-Arabi as if we are reading Agatha Christie or any novel. It's different. It involves you and it highlights and exposes your condition. So you can see why some people will say that there are certain things Ibn al-Arabi he should have not written. And so because they only belong to the people who understand. So to some people who do not have this understanding, it might be confusing. Actually, it is confusing. And as you know, there is nobody who is more misinterpreted as Ibn al-Arabi. There are people that even say, I follow Ibn al-Arabi and I'm a kafir because I don't need Islam to understand Ibn al-Arabi. From that kind of nonsense to the people who reinterpret it in order to validate the Mahdi or validate the state, whatever level they may be in, of where they are. Instead of humbling and bring you closer to Allah, it brings them to themselves to prove whatever they are doing. I've seen members of the government using Rumi to validate their position. I'm taxing you in the name of Rumi. I'm going to do this project which is completely against Islam, because my inspiration after visiting the tomb of Rumi. That kind of things. Of course, naturally, we don't fall into this. But this long explanation is necessary because you have to focus on the changing of Maqam. The purpose of reading al-Arabi is to make you increase your desire to have knowledge of Allah. To increase your desire means that you want to find that sincerity, you want to recall those moments that brings you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If reading Ibn al-Arabi doesn't bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you have failed. As simple as that. It might even do harm to you, because you might think, no, I know Ibn al-Arabi and still I'm in a state of paralysis in which most people find themselves. So it's better not to know Ibn al-Arabi if you do not intend to take this journey. So having understood this, the journey of reading the Secrets of Salat is exactly what it is intended. The secrets of the Salat. What does it mean? Is there some kind of abracadabra, some Da Vinci Code hidden in the Arabic of the words? Maybe because we are saying so many times the word alif, or 42 times the repetition of this or that, or the secret patterns in the prayer, the movement, the arms, the position of the hair. You know, some people go into this direction and they go crazy. No, it's nothing of that. Secret is not about some hidden pattern. It's not a secret code. It's not a password. It's something that discloses itself by changing your state. It's something openly manifested, but hidden by veils. Not somebody else's veils, your veils. The act of opening into the prayer is an act of liberation of your own veils. It's your condition. And this, what the Shaykh is going to disclose, is a number of things regarding the secrets of the prayer, that they are extraordinary. At first, they will shock you. You will discover things you haven't heard. Then, you will hallucinate with the kind of effect that fulfilling and going through that journey changes you. Hallucinate is not the word. Overwhelming is the word. It will overwhelm you that, my goodness, I didn't realize. If that happens to you, then you are being successful. So this is 1 hour introduction just to explain to you that how you interact with the text of Ibn al-Arabi changes everything. Let me now at least give you a little bit of Ibn al-Arabi, the things that we have prepared, which is the opening of the book. And I'm going to read something directly from this book about the secrets of Salat. I'm going to first read directly from Ibn al-Arabi, so you have a little bit of the taste of Ibn al-Arabi. Even reading it completely, it will take us a year with commentary. It will take us a year. So we're going to pick up bits and pieces. This is the opening. This is how he wants to start this conversation. So this is our Shaykh, our dear Shaykh, Muli Ibn al-Arabi, speaking in the Futuhat al-Hikam, chapter The Secrets of Salat. He says, "Know, may Allah strengthen you, that the term Salat is attributed to 4 sources in 2 senses: a comprehensive sense and a specific sense. In the comprehensive sense, Salat is attributed to Allah, where it signifies Rahma. Allah has described himself as Ar-Rahim, the most merciful, and has attributed this quality to his servants as well, saying, Arham, to those who show Rahma. He has a Rahma, he has given Rahma to the people. And Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allah shows Rahma only to those of his servants who have Ruhama. Ruham from Rahim, merciful. So Allah gives the Rahma to the people who have Rahma. If you have Rahma, Allah increases you. And this is the beginning. And look at how the Shaykh is speaking. He's starting to speak about Salat in a manner that you never heard anybody speaking like this, right? We will see through all this. Don't worry. But then he quotes the following ayat. He says, it is He, capital letters, Allah, who sends Salat upon you. Not Salam. He sends dhikr or salam. No, he sends Salat, prayer, upon you, as do his angels. Not only Allah sends Salat upon you, also the angels. For he may bring you out from darkness into light. End of the ayat. Quran 33:43. This is where the Shaykh wants to take us. It is He who sends Salat upon you, as do His angels, so that He may bring you out from darkness into light. If this doesn't shake you already, as it does shakes me completely, then you are not tuning. So the first thing the Shaykh wants you to know when it comes to the question of Salat is that the Salat, Allah is sending Salat to you. That He is the one that makes it possible. That it's not something you do. It's something Allah does. Allah praises Himself by Himself. He doesn't need you, certainly. And there is no Salat possible without His prior Salat upon you. He says, when you remember me, I remember you. That relationship is reciprocal. That doesn't happen one way. This, I have to say, this is one of the things that kind of, it gives me shivers, just the thought of it. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when I remember you, when you remember me, I remember you. It is extraordinary. I mean, to remember Allah is magnificent, it's beautiful, it's honey to the Sufi, to the slave. But the notion that Allah remembers you, the idea that Allah remembers us, me in particular, that is overwhelming. You cannot acquire this knowledge just simply, now I know. It is impossible. It is completely impossible to just simply rationalize this thought. If you want to find the ayat, is in Surah al-Baqarah 152. So remember me, I will remember you. It's just it's too much. Okay, this is too much. It's not something that I can't possibly just say it and kind of, okay, now I know. It is powerful. Even though human dhikr is different. It's a different type. The way I remember him, the way he remembers me is completely asymmetrical. I'm Ubudia. I'm a slave. Don't you want to? I mean, it's too much. My remembering Allah is I need you. It's the turning of the heart to Him. It's like the absence of everything else. To remember Him is just, that's it. I can't compare Him with anything else. Dhikr of Allah is His rububiyah, is His lordship, is my Rabb. It's gracious. It turns me. It changes me. But just the thought of knowing that He is remembering me, it just kind of overwhelms me. Overwhelms me completely. It's an opening, it's guidance, it's protection. And so in the Salat, you think you are doing Salat. Allah is doing Salat on you. Not the same. He's not worshipping you. So there is in Salat something we don't even understand. There is something, the nature of which is much higher than we can possibly understand. Salat is not just a movement. No? There is something fine, profound about Salat, something sublime about Salat that changes you, it changes the world around you. And the most important thing, all this thing happens by virtue of the Rahma bestowed upon you when you show humility, obedience, surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You receive Rahma in exchange for your slavery, for your obedience. Tell me this. What could be higher, more satisfying than the Rahma of Allah? Huh? Is there anything in this world that even come close as a benefit, as the Rahma of Allah? Then you want to learn how to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is how the Shaykh starts. It starts from here. And there is a lot more, immensely more, about what the Salat is about. He's going to go through every little aspect of the Salat. He's going to turn it around to become aware of what extraordinary thing, an extraordinary event you are, and the tools that Allah has given you in His mercy in order to bring you closer to Him. Extraordinary, extraordinary, extraordinary. And how to take benefit from the prayer, because that's the key, right? To be able to benefit from the prayer so you can fully understand the benefits. You become receptive to them. You open to the light of Allah that continuously showers upon you. Extraordinary. And this is not even the beginning of the section that I wanted to cover with you today. This is just the taste of the beginning of the question of Salat as presented by Ibn al-Arabi, because from here, now you can understand Ihsan. Remember that Ihsan is to pray as if you see him, although you cannot see him, but you know he is watching you. He is indeed watching you, not just watching as in seeing, he's throwing Rahma at you. Hey, do you understand what that means? You understand what Allah looking at you means? You understand what Allah giving you a little bit of Rahma, just kind of throwing a little bit of Rahma at you means? It's more important than life itself, it's more important than food, it's more important than anything in this world. What could be higher than this? Do you understand what is at stake? Allah is active in the prayer. You, on the other hand, the only thing you have to do is to submit. That's a good exchange. That's nothing for what we receive. What could be a greater Lord than him? What could be a greater position than our slavery to him? What is greater than to surrender to him, to submit to him in every conceivable way? And I just start understanding the prayer. And he is watching you, blessing you, and throwing his Rahma at you, his shower of light and Rahma upon you. Do you understand? So here it is, the beginning of Muhyiddin Ibn al-Arabi on the Secrets of Salat. We will leave it here. Bisirri wa barakati, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم.